So,
Yes.
Jo, Rowling.
Yes. Yes.
There you are, a reasonably successful children's author, with a
Indeed.
cast of characters that people quite like.
Yeah.
Why change horses and courses?
Because this is the thing I wanted to write next. It's really not very complicated. I had the idea for it, I knew I would love to write it, and so that's where it all started. I did not sit down to write this novel. No part of me felt, right, got to prove. I had nothing to prove. Now, I don't mean that in an arrogant way. I certainly don't mean that I think, well, you know, I can't improve as a writer. I certainly don't mean that I'm coming from a place of self-satisfaction. But Harry Potter truly liberated me. It liberated me in the sense that there's only one reason to write now, for me. If I genuinely have something I want to say and I want to publish it.
Why was it the thing you wanted to write next?
The truth is, the idea just came to me, and I just had that almost visceral reaction when you're excited about something, you know you want to do it. But I could, I suppose, go back and say, well, it plays into certain themes in my life. In a sense, it's quite a personal book. These are things that I think about a lot. It's personal in the sense that it deals with broad themes that have affected my life in a very real sense. Poverty, for example. And there are attitudes depicted in this book that I found myself suffering from at a very formative time in my life.
Did you have any of those experiences that you projected onto your characters? Self-harming, taking drugs, trying to numb the pain?
Wouldn't want to go there too much, in the sense that, but I will say that I've, as is well documented, I have had my issues with I've certainly had mental health issues. I've been depressed. In my teenage years, I had issues with anxiety.
The Casual Vacancy is a story set in a small English town in which a rough council estate becomes a divisive issue in a community riven with hate, prejudice and exclusion. Expletives abound.
Do you worry that children who are fans of yours will be on an internet site where you can easily download these books?
Well, I hope that we've made it really clear that this isn't a book for children. You know, I've been very open about what the themes are. We've talked about what the story's about. I would have thought that parents could make a very, clear choice here about whether they would want...
But it might not be parents making the choice.
Well, with children, well, I suppose I would have to ask why kids got such untrammelled access to all aspects of the internet that they're downloading. There are things I'd be even more worried about them downloading if they're running amok on the internet on their own.
Now, Jo, there is something of Dickens about this book.
Well, I'm very flattered for you to say that, because when I did start writing it, I was aware that I was doing a contemporary version of what I love, which is a big, fat 19th century novel set in a small community. So, to an extent, swear words notwithstanding, that is what The Casual Vacancy is.
What do you aspire to as a writer?
To get better, I think would be great. I think that you're working and you're learning until you die. I can say with my hand on my heart, I will never write for any reason other than that I burningly wanted to write the book. There are a couple of the Potters that I definitely knew that they needed another year.
Towards the end of the series?
There's one towards the beginning and there's one towards the end that I definitely felt that about, where I had to write on the run, and there were times when it was really tough. And I read them and I think, oh God, maybe I'll go back and do a director's cut, I don't know. Wow.
As a writer, you've created a portfolio of characters which connect with millions, maybe even billions of people. It's an extraordinary achievement, truly extraordinary. Surely you can't leave them be.
It was murder saying goodbye, but I truly, where Harry's story is concerned, I'm done. Now, if I had a fabulous idea that came out of that world, because I loved writing it, I would do it. But I've got to have a great idea. I don't want to go mechanically back into that world and pick up a load of odds and ends and glue them together and say, here we go, we can sell this. It would make a mockery of what those books were to me. You know, they really kept me going through some very rough times. So I just don't want to betray them in that sense.
Maybe a sidetrack?
I'm not sure. A sidestep? Well, we'll see. It's very difficult to say how angry and how angry I felt that my 5-year-old daughter's school was no longer a place of, you know, complete security from journalists.
On Leveson, you gave a very moving account of what happened to you. Do you think it will change anything? It's
a massive question for our culture. We've got to get it right. I passionately believe in the freedom of the press, but having been on the receiving end of some dubious / illegal behaviour, how do we mop this up? I don't know. I hope and pray it does change things, because I think it's toxic what has been allowed to go on.
Jo Rowling, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Will.